Scott Morrison has moved to quell nervousness among his Victorian Liberal MPs, spooked by the party's trouncing at the state election. Some are publicly calling for policies to be abandoned to broaden their appeal. But on his first full day in minority government, the Prime Minister took a leaf out of the Victorian Premier's book, likening his economic management to that of Daniel Andrews' government. Political editor Andrew Probin.
Admit her.
She's become the symbol of the Liberal Party's decline. Progressive independent Kerryn Phelps, now occupier of Malcolm Turnbull's old blue ribbon Sydney seat.
This was my time to step up. It was a vote for a new way.
Formally reducing Scott Morrison's government to minority status.
Our electoral base sent us a message.
As Liberals from the south rake the ruins of the weekend's Victorian state election that saw a bumper win for Labor, cutting deep into the Liberal heartland.
Give people a reason to be Liberals, not confect fights, not label them as cosmopolitan intellectuals or say they're not part of real Australia.
Senate President, senior Liberal figure Scott Ryan, blaming the disaster on party folk intolerant of those interested in climate change, renewable energy and social issues.
That somehow you're not a real Liberal.
What do we learn? We've got 6 months to do it.
That task started urgently with Victorian Liberals summoned for crisis talks with the Prime Minister and Treasurer, although some things are easily admitted.
I would readily concede that the events of a few months ago here in Canberra would not have helped.
Then again, Scott Morrison sees the silver lining in Dan Andrews' triumph.
An incumbent government running a strong economy with a preferred Premier, Mr Speaker. Who does that sound like? Our government.
Even with a good economic story to tell, Liberals like Scott Ryan say the coalition faces a long time in the political wilderness unless it stops its ideological warfare. That's already cost the government its majority and meant today it lost control of parliamentary business. And right on cue,
the government faced with defeat on the floor of the House of Representatives has chosen the wiser and more pragmatic path.
It backed the Senate's call to examine a federal anti-corruption commission, the powers, rules and timing to be determined by an apparently ambivalent Prime Minister.
The Leader of the Opposition is off on some sort of fringe issue, Mr Speaker.
After all, this is not a time for picking unnecessary fights. Especially with so many nervous Victorians around.
It's always a relief.
Andrew Probin, ABC News, Canberra.